Hello and welcome to CellarPassTV. We're live at Hall St. Helena and we are in the beautiful library room today. During our adventures here at Hall Wines, we're going to be exploring all the various areas of their property, so definitely be sure to check in every week to see where we're broadcasting because it's always a surprise. So we've got all kinds of excitement going on here today. We've got Sullivan Wines, who is tempting us with some of the most unbelievable Cabernets, and then we'll be talking a little bit of yoga later on with Miss Deanna. And so what's going on in wine country? That's a good question. Right now in Napa Valley, it's summertime hot. We went from 60s to 103 overnight. It's amazing. So summer is in full swing. We bid adieu to Arts in April. It is over and we look forward to all the fun events and art installations that'll be back again next year. And right now it seems that we're still on the wellness kick and it's in full swing. And it's not just out with people riding their bikes and taking walks and hikes. There are all kinds of excursions and experiences going on. We see them coming up on CellarPass all the time, from hikes, yoga. We've got health foods and wine pairings. There is some really cool stuff going on right now. And also May marks the beginning of a lot of the farmers markets in the area from Sonoma County, Napa County, and beyond. There is something really cool that is going to benefit you from the inside out going on right now. Maybe it's in preparation for all that drinking we're going to be doing during harvest. I don't know. So we want to welcome Sonyia from
Hi.
Sullivan Vineyards. Thanks for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm so excited and so thankful to get to come see this property. Hall is absolutely fantastic.
There is seriously endless opportunities to explore. You could get lost on this property all day.
I have a feeling I'm going to be wandering around for a little while after the taping today.
Absolutely. So you've brought us a couple of red wine temptations going on here in our glasses. Tell us a little bit about what's in glass number one.
So glass number one is our Coeur d'Ivin, and this is our Bordeaux style blend, our red wine. It means heart of the vineyard, and this is really an expression of the terroir of our estate. We have 26 acres right in the heart of Rutherford, and so it's a beautiful Bordeaux style blend that we create. It changes every year to be the best expression of that vintage in that year. And then what's also really great is that the label actually changes every year. Kelly Sullivan, one of our owners, is an amazing artist and has her works shown all over the world. And so every year she actually gives us a beautiful piece to put on the label.
Well, that's very cool and very special. It's a nice tribute to her talents and, of course, her tie to the winery.
Oh yeah,
That's
it's people love to collect them and love to collect all the little pieces that go with it, whether it's coasters or some other accessories that we bring out every year, or the posters.
That's really nice. Well, let's get sipping. I see our bloggers are glasses up and ready already. They're starting to tweet and chime in.
So what do we have saying? I've seen some good stuff already today. Maggie was saying that
Yes.
this is one of her favorite wines ever.
These are all good things. So far, I think their mouths are full. Fabulous blast. Thank you, Maxine. I like it too. Speaking of wines, this is delicious.
Well, I think people really like this wine. I mean, it's a big wine, but it's still really approachable. It's got, great dark berry fruit, some nice chocolate. Really has that Rutherford dust. If people love Rutherford wines, they love that Rutherford dust.
Absolutely.
And this is classic
I mean, it's
to
right
our
in there.
estate.
I mean, you just doesn't take much. It's like, hello.
This is nice. I mean, to get a little geeky on this stuff, sometimes people want to know what the blend is. So this one's 42% Cabernet, 42 Merlot, and then 14 Petit Verdot, and then 2% Cabernet Franc. So
fantastic.
it's a nice, really classic blend there.
It's not one of those magical wines that has a couple extra percentages in there.
No, we try not to.
115% Napa Valley wine. Awesome.
We see those though.
It happens. Oh, this is incredible. This is just a fantastic, all-around drinker. I mean, you could easily pair this with a multitude of different things. What is one of your favorite pairings?
I like this one. Now we're getting into warm weather, so I'm going to start playing with it for kind of more grilled stuff. So, steaks on the barbecue. I was loving this winter with braised beef. It was fantastic with nice polenta. So now that we're getting kind of into summer, I'm thinking some grilled steaks would be great. If you're going more vegetarian, you could do this with grilled portobello mushrooms with some nice, cheeses in it. It would be perfect as well.
Excellent. Sounds good. All right. So what's going on at Sullivan right now?
Oh, it is getting so busy. So in November, we opened up our newly renovated tasting room, and
Magnificent. Lisa.
Thank you. We're really excited. It's supposed to feel very homey. It's actually was really built to showcase all of Kelly's art, so it's got a fantastic art display through the tasting room. And we're just getting really busy. The summertime is coming in, and the traffic's starting to come up. We've got all kinds of great tastings. We're launching a new yoga series, which I think we're going to talk about a little bit more here.
Very excited about that.
We've got a cheese making class too coming up. We've got some release parties, so we're doing a lot of events, just trying to get people to come in, experience the property. So many people show up and they just don't know that it was there. I mean,
Well,
we're
you're
right.
just tucked. You're just tucked right off the highway, just enough. But it's one of those magnificent
Right there.
little properties. You show up. And if you've never been to Sullivan, it's just absolutely awe-inspiring. It's one of those iconic Napa Valley wine scenes. I mean, there's no doubt. Huge, vast lawn, beautiful reservoir, i.e. a lake, and outdoor seating. You've got classic cars on property, and it's just a place. You get there, you're not leaving anytime soon. So you might as well just sit down, expect to spend an hour or two just enjoying, and it's absolutely beautiful.
I'd say most guests stay about an hour and a half to 2 hours. It's really personal. People love sitting in the courtyard and just enjoying kind of that dining or tasting al fresco. Some people have been doing the VIP tastings that we do now, which has got the charcuterie and cheeses that we're doing in the mornings. And people just love it. Everyone that stays tends to join the wine club, and they feel like they found something hidden and undiscovered. And it's this kind of quieter side of Napa, which isn't so pretentious, it's just very real, and you feel like you're in someone's home.
Yeah, well, you're still very much so family vineyard
Oh,
and
we are.
winery, and there's no doubt, and you feel that the moment you walk on property, which is one of the things that we've always loved about it, and have been so happy to have them on CellarPass for so long. But tell me a little bit about this cheese making class and lunch that's coming up.
So this is a program that we started doing with actually some friends of ours at Four Seasons requested something like this. So we put together this really great cheese pairing. And what it ended up being was a cheese making class. So you actually have lunch, sit down. We've got a cheesemonger who will walk you through how to make cheese. So you make your own ricotta, which then becomes part of dessert. And it's really hands-on. It's usually only about 12 people at most. And people just love it. And the Four Seasons folk just keep sending their friends up to do it over and over again. And so people started hearing about it. So we're going to offer it out and see what the public wants to come in. And I think we're getting a lot of interest, and we still have just a few seats left for the one on May 10th. So hopefully we'll see some of you guys joining us.
Yeah, definitely. It's a unique experience. You can get your tickets on CellarPass.com. Hurry up, because it will sell out, and you don't want to miss this. And then you guys have your Chardonnay release day coming up as well.
Yes.
And that's always a fun party.
Yes, so we don't make Chardonnay every year. And last year was the first time in quite a few years that we made Chardonnay. And first of all, I'm going to apologize for not bringing that today, especially as hot as it is outside.
Sorry.
But it was just recently bottled, and I didn't have time to get out our samples to our fellow bloggers, but next time. So the Chardonnay, we only made 200 cases of last year, and it just sold out like that, where we were getting calls nonstop going, do we have more Chardonnay? And so there's been a huge anticipation about having the Chardonnay release, so it's going out in the wine club shipment next week, and then releasing on Sunday the 18th at the winery in the tasting room. And this time we made a little bit more. I've got about 500 cases, so hopefully,
still small,
so
but
hopefully it'll last a little longer. And I think it's important to note, we only make a total in any given year at max 5,000 cases. So we're really a small boutique producer. We're not, when people say boutique, we're as boutique as it gets with 5,000 cases.
So you got to get it when it's released, or you may not get it at all.
Yeah.
And but that's what makes it so exciting too. So you really get something special in small lots and small production, and
it's really
and you taste the
handcrafted.
difference. Yeah, you truly
and
taste
it's
the
really, we make everything with a really strong thought process about what we want our wines to taste like, how much we want to make, so that we're not having something where we're just inundating the market. Most of it's sold directly at the winery. We don't distribute. If we do, it's very small. I think there's a few of you guys in Texas that might be getting some of our wines from a distributor, but we don't really distribute. It's all goes to our wine club and online and visitors of the winery.
And that's wonderful. And that's something that truly makes it a special addition to your cellar, I think. When you see something that's on every grocery store shelf, it's not that it's bad, it's just it doesn't have that little extra magic to it, where it's like, oh, this, we can only get at the winery, and there's a story behind it, and it just, I don't know, there's a lot more emotion, I think, tied to those wines.
It's funny you say that, because at our Sauvignon Blanc release party, which is the first time we ever did Sauvignon Blanc, we released a couple of weeks ago, we were talking with a club member, and she was saying, they've been club members for a long time, and they were saying that when she comes home and there's a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc open on the counter, she knows that something amazing has happened in their life and that her husband wants to celebrate. And those are those little stories that when you meet with your wine club members and your customers, those are the ones that give you the little goosebumps of it's special, and it's special to them. They pull those out to mark those special occasions.
Absolutely, and that's wonderful. We're getting some feedback coming through here. Our cellar mistress loves that the corks say "Kiss of the Vines."
Oh, good. Yeah, we have different sayings.
Little details. So yeah, it's always fun when you open up a bottle of Sullivan. There's little sayings on the cork. It's not just plain old cork. There is magic in every element of their bottles, and it's what makes them so special. Talking about and all of a sudden, there's more. The Coeur d'Alene is gorgeous. For my first sip, I just keep thinking that very elegant, and the dust adds character to the finish, and that comes from Maxine in A Fabulous World. And I didn't actually do my shout out yet. I kind of skipped that, but I do want to say hello to all of our rock star bloggers. We've got Maxine Lee in A Fabulous World, Martin Barrios, Flawless Crowns, and Grace Hoffman, our cellar mistress. So thank you all so much for being our bloggers today, and keep the chats coming. We'd love to hear your feedback. And Maxine's having turkey meatballs with peppers and mushrooms with us right now, and that actually sounds really, really good.
Do you want to bring some our way?
So box it up, send it in. Again, this wine's pretty versatile, so I can tell that it stand up to a fair amount of spice, the strong flavors, and you're talking about grilling and everything. And I think, we did my spicy Thai turkey burgers last night, and this would actually be a great red wine for that.
Oh, yeah.
Just, pulling out those fun flavors and the different acid balances, so that would actually be really good, and you kind of think about all the different elements of food that you can have fun with. So definitely, summer's in the air.
Especially since it's 95 degrees outside today. This is a perfect day to be, outside drinking. And this is a nice wine where you can still actually enjoy this on a hot day, where it's not too heavy, but it's still, a good bold wine.
Yeah, our Cabernet season is quickly leaving us behind. We are heading straight for pool and boat wine.
It's never too.
This is fantastic.
Never too hot. The wine's perfect.
No, that's true. That is very true. So what's going on in the vineyards right now, especially around the winery?
Right now, we are doing a lot of just kind of the canopy management. Everything's, we've gone through bud break. Everything's coming up. So the guys are out there kind of trimming the leaves they don't want and, placing everything so that every little cluster that's starting to form is protected. So it's been pretty busy. I walk the vineyards every single day. It's just a magical property. And so it's great to actually see what's going on. And we've had crews out there this last week working diligently on just, getting all the topsoil mowed down or, tilled back in so all the nutrients are going into the earth.
That's fantastic. And so beyond that, you've got your parties coming on, and now we've got Miss Deanna. And we're going to start working on wine number 2.
Oh, good.
So let me introduce Deanna, our yoga pirate.
My new nickname.
Yes, I love it. And so tell me a little bit about being a yoga instructor.
Oh, certainly. Thank you. And thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely.
I started a practice of yoga about 20 years ago and just fell in love with it and decided that I needed to teach it. It was something that I just felt was everybody should do yoga in some way or another. It changes everything about the way you feel in your body, the way that you move, the way that you react to things. It's just a wonderful modality. And so about 15 years ago, I decided to jump in and take this teacher training course in Massachusetts at Kripalu Yoga Center. You go there actually for a month. It's a month-long program.
Wow.
And so you're immersed in yoga.
It's commitment.
It really is, and it's incredible. And you have a ton of support surrounding you, and it's really just an amazing place, but also an amazing program to really, you're learning everything about the philosophies of yoga to even just physical anatomy and, how it all kind of ties together. And, it's really just an incredible experience to be there. And to become an instructor, you find yourself in a whole new way. It's really incredible, yeah.
Well, what was your inspiration like when you wake up and say, I need to be a yoga instructor?
Well, I had been teaching taking the classes for a couple of years, and I started taking different classes, and Hatha or Vinyasa or Iyengar or Bikram. And when I found Kripalu, it's actually called the yoga of self-compassion. So you're really honoring the wisdom of your body, any limitations, physical or otherwise. And I felt that resonating with me more so. And it felt like I wanted to pass that gentleness on. I felt like there was a vibrating energy around this gentle, kind of compassionate spirit that comes out of you when you start doing yoga. And even if it's just a physical kind of exercise routine for you, you can't help but be affected. Your mind, body, and spirit all kind of meld together into just a new awareness. And I felt like I really needed to pass that on. I thought it would make the world a little bit of a nicer place.
Absolutely. I think we can all use that.
I think so too.
Oh, and you haven't been in Napa. How long have you been in Napa Valley?
No, I only just relocated about, in June, so almost a year.
Oh my goodness, so you're newbie. Where were you before this?
Well, I was in Vermont, actually, for about 20 years.
Another terrible location.
Yeah, it was really awful. It was, one of the most beautiful places on the planet. And so I'm teaching yoga in these beautiful locations there. And, I was also a restaurant manager and wine director, so I have a great wine education background. And over the years, I did honestly get a little bit tired of the cold weather, although it is just a magical place. And I had decided that somewhere along the way, I was going to create some sort of a yoga and wine program. And I thought I would go to a wine region, maybe in Europe, to start out with.
Oh.
So I had Italy in my mind. I have family there, and I know a little bit of the language, and I thought that would be my, place to go and kind of immerse myself. But then I happened to fall in love with somebody who lived in Napa, California, so that made my decision a little easier to move out.
Absolutely.
And then, so for a little while it was a long distance thing, and then last year I decided that it was time. It was 27 below zero actually for 4 days in a row.
And it was definitely time.
It was time.
In March, almost April, and it's okay, I'm done with this now, it's time to move.
Bags are packed, I'm out of here,
Let's go.
bye-bye.
Exactly. Let's create the opportunity so I can go. And actually it just happened, I just kind of packed up, came across the country, and I worked as a hospitality director for a wonderful winery, but I found that really I needed to feed my soul, and this is the perfect place to be teaching yoga.
It's pretty
And with
amazing.
the yoga and the wine, I just thought, well, it's kind of the perfect partnership, so let's see if we can create this. And fortunately I knew Angelica and Sonyia.
Yeah,
And
it's fantastic.
yeah, we've gone from there, so it's been amazing.
And so we're into wine, number 2, not to cut you
Yes,
off.
no,
We're coming
please.
back to
We'll
you.
talk
don't
more about
worry.
yoga.
Yeah, we're talking more about yoga. I'm very intrigued. I love yoga. I've actually been doing yoga now consistently for about a month. And I've always
great.
dabbled and played with it, but it's definitely changing how my workouts and how my body's responding to so many different things, and it's fantastic. But on to the wine part of the yoga conversation. Wine number 2, this is your reserve. This
Yes.
is incredible.
Yeah, this is, now we're going to get to the big daddy wine.
yeah.
This is our James O'Neill, which is named after our founder, affectionately known at the winery as Jem, but we decided to use his full name. And this is a Reserve Cabernet. This is our best barrels, our best blocks. We don't make this every year either. So
You're
there's
not using the pine barrels for this.
No.
Definitely not.
Sorry about the cough there. A little bit of allergies going on. But this is something, only a couple hundred cases made. Some years we'll do a Merlot that's a James O'Neill Merlot as well. Last year we did, I think, 20, 30 cases of that.
Wow.
There was about 300 cases of this wine. This one's beautiful. I mean, this is as classic Rutherford Cabernet as you can get.
Absolutely.
This is definitely one that you need some food to cut through. This is,
This is your big dog wine.
big dog wine.
This is going with your entree. Maybe a little leftover for
This is
dessert.
one that can lay down in your cellar
Oh,
for
this-
10, 15
yeah.
years. Jim really made wines that could lay down and stand the test of time. And so we've got a great library,
I
and
was
we've
just
been
going to say,
selling
I've
quite
had
a
the
few
opportunity to sample some of
library
your
wines.
library collection, and it's phenomenal. And it's always fun, though. If you hang out at a Sullivan party long enough, inevitably something of distinguished age will emerge from the cellar. And
Don't
it's
know how that happens.
Fantastic, and it's a treat. It absolutely is, especially when you can really get a feel for how a particular winery's wines will age over time, and to have them 15 years, 20 years later still be standing up. It's pretty special.
And we find it really fun to do that at events and parties. So even our last release party, we pulled out some 3 liters out of the cellar that, the family put this away. We have this great room that's just, 2 of us have the keys to. And we'll go in and pull something out during parties just to let people taste. It's not something for sale, but for people to understand how well wines can age for a long period of
Yeah,
time.
if they're stored properly,
Yeah.
they really can go the test of time. And we do have some questions and some feedback. I've got Maxine chiming in back to the previous wine, asking about how Kelly selects her portrait for the label. It is, as we mentioned, her actual artwork, but do you know if she puts any kind of thought or
She does. We're actually working right now on the 2012 label, and so there's a lot of conversation. She's painted a couple pieces recently at her home in Maui, and so she sent them to me, and then we, actually talk to customers in the tasting room and see which ones they like. The staff weighs in, but ultimately the decision is Kelly's. I mean, she is, a phenomenal artist. We actually just had a great tour with her for Arts in April at the winery.
Nice.
And so she'll pick this year. I think she's actually doing something a little bit different, where she's zooming in on a part of a piece that she really loves.
So really kind of honing in on it.
She just said, I just love this piece of my painting, and I think it will be a really fun label. And so, this is a little bit of a different twist for us.
Kind of
this
whatever
time.
speaks to her soul, really.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I love it. Long and lovely velvety finish on the Coeur d'Alene. And that is beautiful. Is it Coeur d'Alene or Coeur d'Alene?
Coeur d'Alene.
Coeur d'Alene. Yay, got it right. Woo! We have got chocolate-covered cherries coming out of this wine, and absolutely, I think that is, and I loved this one, and I'm definitely digging the reserve. There's no doubt. And any more questions? Oh, no, we're off the hook for a moment. Keep tweeting, keep letting us know what you think about the wines. Back to the reserve, back to yoga. So, Deanna comes to town and hooks up with you two fine ladies and says, hey, let's do some yoga in the vineyards. And now we have the Sullivan Vineyards yoga
it was
series.
something we have this fantastic house on the property that the family raised their 5 children in it. I mean, it's a home.
Absolutely.
And we put on some new decks last year that go all the way around, and they overlook the vineyard. So the whole living space is on the 2nd floor. So it's almost like you're floating above the vineyard.
Absolutely.
And so we have this great room that if it's cold, we can do it inside. That's all windows with sliding barn doors. But if it's not cold, we can just move right out into the deck, and you feel like you're floating on top of the vineyards. And it's one of those places that, if I've had, a lot going on at work, I would personally go back and just do some stretching and take some deep breaths back there. And so it was one of these, this would be really cool to do yoga. And then Miss Deanna shows up, perfect
hey,
timing.
I teach yoga.
And says, hey, I teach yoga. And so he's like, well, let's get this thing going. And the response has been huge. I mean, people are so excited.
Absolutely.
And I think other
This is
wineries
really cool.
are doing it, but they're not doing it on every,
It's not consistent.
consistent basis.
And so that's what you guys are doing. It's kicking off on May 3rd.
Yes.
So you can get, you make your reservations at CellarPass.com. Really easy. Click, done, yoga. And you're going to be out in the vineyards. And this weekend should be phenomenal. So if you want to check it out and get your Zen on, this is definitely where you want to be.
It's followed by a tasting.
Which doesn't, that's
So
pretty
Deanna
amazing.
we're using that wine background she has. So she sits down afterwards and she's going to start you off with the Sauvignon Blanc. So you get to try the new Sauvignon Blanc, our Estate Merlot, and our Estate Cabernet. And then
Nice.
if there's something fun, she'll pour something else. It could be something that was pulled from the library, tasting the day before, or whatever we've got going on.
No, that sounds wonderful. And as we talked about consistency, this is an ongoing series. So keep coming, and the series will keep going on and on and on. And actually, we were talking about it earlier. I'm already fast forwarding to the nice, crisp fall mornings, candle-lit amazingness.
Yeah.
So yes, definitely. I'm like put on my calendar.
I know I'm going to be seeing you there.
Yes, I will
on
definitely
Saturday.
be there. I am very excited, and I'm really fascinated by the practice of yoga that you're doing. So I've done a lot of vinyasa and hatha and all those fun things, but this one definitely sounds a little bit more soothing and restorative.
It is. It definitely is. It's more of a gentle style of yoga, where though. And all levels, of course, are welcome, and it's perfect for all levels. But you can also go a little deeper if you want. I always, of course, encourage the students to go a little deeper if you're feeling comfortable. If you like where you are, stay there. Otherwise, and I'll kind of direct them into a little bit of a deeper, more advanced pose. And so you can really just feel the freedom of doing whatever is comfortable in your body for that day.
And
That's really
I think it's a good key point, that day, because every day is different. And what you could have done last week may not be where you're at specifically today. And I, recently I'm kind of going through my own journey right now, but there have been days that, I crank through a good full 30-minute hardcore sweat session of yoga, and then 3 days later I do the same series, and I can get like 10 minutes, and I'm like, I'm done. I surrender. I can't do this. So it's you really have to listen to your body, and it will tell you what you can do or not do for that day. And even a little bit of yoga is better than no yoga.
That's exactly
so
right. It all sort of builds upon itself. So you create this muscle memory of the poses. And you get to the point where actually you could do it on your own.
Because you start
when you're feeling stressed, and
when
you go
you're
out on the front porch.
Kind of go through a few movements.
You just take a few of those deep cleansing breaths, and then you get into a couple of the poses that feel good to you, and your body again will tell you. What
And
you
last
need.
night was fun. I was stretching with my husband, and I was like, "No, you should do downward dog because it'll really help stretch you out." And I go into mine, and he just looks at me. He's like, "Yeah, I can't quite do that."
Yeah, we'll find you a variation.
Looked more like plank happening next to me, and I'm like, no, really, you can do this. And I'm like, wow, I've really come a long way. But it is fantastic. What's your favorite yoga pose?
Ooh, I do love downward dog. I love downward dog. That was my kind of all-time favorite in the beginning. But I've kind of, it's funny, I've kind of evolved into different ones. Once I learned how to do a headstand, I was never out of a headstand for a long, long time. There's a posture called crow, where it's an arm balance.
This is on my list. I want to master crow by the end of the year.
It is incredible for balance and for inner balance, because it takes a lot of real deep
mental.
Exactly. Concentration and that's a really
Crow's
good one
interesting. Yes.
Are you mastering your inner crow at Sullivan Vineyards?
Yes, I think I'm going to master my crow at Sullivan Vineyards this year. I think that's a fantastic idea, actually. But that's funny you say that, because that is actually one of those things where I'm like, I want to be able to do this and do it well. And so every day I'm like, a little bit more. And if you don't know what crow is, you basically are balancing on your hands and bring your legs up into your arms. And it's a very awkward looking position, and it's hard.
That's what I've always had a trouble with as well.
And like it's you don't think about it at the core. It's all core.
If people think automatically arms, shoulders,
it's like no,
but
it's core.
Really, you're lifting and you're holding yourself up by your core. It's really intense.
It's pretty cool. So that's my
you get in it and you feel this empowerment that you've never felt before.
You're like, I did it!
Oh yeah.
Yes, the valley will hear me roar when I successfully do that one. We do have a lot of feedback. Like all of a sudden, like the Twitter sphere came alive here. So let's go through some Flawless Crowns chiming in. To Sullivan, what was your favorite moment in making this edition of the Coeur d'Alene? And of course, you're not the winemaker, but it is an excellent wine. So what's your favorite element of it, or if there's any memorable moments?
I think it was actually when we released it and got to see the artwork printed on the label. I'm newer to the winery, so I've only been there for just about a year. So I wasn't here when this was originally crafted during that vintage, but I was here for when the wines actually showed up and we all got to see the label, and the label's fantastic. It's got a beautiful piece of artwork on it, and so I'm always excited to see what Kelly's art looks like on the wine when it shows up.
That is exciting. It's kind of like welcoming home the new baby.
Yeah,
it's like, look at it! This is so
because it
passing it around.
It changes every year, so it's always exciting to see what it is. And it's like, I now have seen what the 11 is, and I'm excited about that one, and now we're playing with the 12. And so it's fun to kind of be a few years out thinking about how these pieces work.
Well, and talking about the label, actually, this actually brings up a good question, and how the wines change every year. Does Kelly ever think about how the wine is and how that's going to tie to her artwork? Or
we do. We have conversations. She tastes the wine. She knows what's
really
coming
kind of
down.
pulls
She has
the two
conversations
together.
with the winemaker, so she knows how they pull together.
That's really cool. I like that a lot. What makes the James O'Neill Rutherford Cab a reserve, and what goes into that?
So this one really is, we keep our best barrels aside. We keep, we actually, when we harvest each little block separately, and then our winemakers will go through and say, okay, this barrel is just absolutely phenomenal. Let's hold that one. This barrel is phenomenal. And so they just hold those aside. They baby them along. And then at the very end, they get blended together. And so, it could be anywhere from, like I said, the Merlot was only 30 cases. So it can be, 30 cases up to maybe 300 cases if we feel like, that year was just, particularly strong.
That makes sense.
And for the 10, we actually, the 10 James O'Neill we did not make it an 11. 11, was, as everyone knows, was a little bit more of a difficult year. We feel very lucky, though, with our core tier wines, our non-reserve wines. We weren't able to make a James O'Neill, but what we took was his best wines and actually folded those into our regular wine program. So they're still really phenomenal, and we're really excited about those wines. But people are going to have to wait to the 12 to have the James O'Neill again.
Well, I think that's a good practice, because not every year does a reserve
It isn't.
wine make. It just doesn't. And the fact that you guys are being very selective about that, I think, speaks very highly of your wine and your commitment to making excellent wines. And on that note, Cellar Mistress is asking, what was the first vintage of Sullivan? Do you know?
That was actually in 1976.
Good year. That was a very good year.
So they started growing vineyards and doing stuff in 72. You'll see that showing up on the bottle, but I believe 76 was kind of the first year that it was actually out and people could have it.
Vintage of it. Fantastic. Flawless Crowns, loving the reserve. Dark fruit on the nose, silky finish, and it is so delicious.
I agree.
Yes.
This is that special occasion wine.
No, I love Martin. He comes up with the best questions. If this reserve would be a yoga pose, which one would it be?
Oh, thank you for putting me on the spot. It would be Virabhadrasana too. It would be the peaceful warrior pose. It's somewhat masculine, powerful, but yet balanced and graceful at the same time. Nice. Excellent question.
Good pairing. Cheers. That was really good.
Cheers. That was great.
That was excellent.
That should just be a standard question for everybody else. Why was a yoga pose?
What would it be? All right, Maxine Lee coming in with, love doing yoga in the morning, really starts the tone for the day. Yoga and wine makes perfect sense. Yes, absolutely. And Maxine, when you come up or over to our neck of the woods, you've got to come do this. This is going to be fantastic. We'd love to have you. And Cellar Mistress, the 10 James O'Neill Reserve Cab. I can't take my nose out of the glass. Yeah, I think we keep
pretty
seeing us do
that over here.
Absolutely. And everyone's still sniffing their glasses. I mean, it's just one of those wines where you're just like, yes.
And it's one of those, the longer it stays open, the more it just kind of evolves and changes and just continually, actually kind of just unveils new aromas and flavors. It's really nice.
Oh, it is. It's just, there's so much complexity happening in here, and as it warms up a little bit, as it opens up, it's like, oh, new surprises, and just starts really letting its
I really am wanting like a piece of steak right now.
I know. Meat would be fantastic. Yes, no food and wine pairings today on CellarPassTV. Oh, darn. But let's talk about it a little bit. I mean, we can talk about wine all day long, and it is pretty much the cornerstone of our worlds, but what is it that's your favorite thing to do in wine country? Like when you're not dealing with wine?
It's so beautiful here. I love getting out and hiking. Whether it's, at the winery, I tend to get out every day and take walks around the property and down Galeron Lane, just because you feel like you're just in the heart of the valley. But then if you go up to Angwin or you go up to, Skyline Park, there's so many places to hike here and just get outdoors or and get active, kind of staying in that same healthy.
Well, I know one of our favorite trails that we've hiked a lot is the old Oat Hill.
Oh yeah, you and I've hiked that one a ton over the years.
It's beautiful.
Way too many years of doing that.
It goes on forever. We haven't quite taken it. That should be our goal. We should take it all the way to the top one of these days.
Someone needs to go stash a really good bottle of wine up there for us.
And leave a
car. There's a reason to get there. I think that this is going to get stashed at the end.
And bubbles.
And then we'll get our way up there.
Bubbles and a bucket of ice and this, and then a pickup point at the end. But
and I would say get bubbles. I mean, I think there's so many great sparkling wine houses here, and it's no secret at our winery that we're all huge bubble fans.
Oh yeah.
We actually, our new assistant winemaker, the guy who's on the ground every day handling the wines, actually came from Schramsberg. So we keep joking with him, going, "You're gonna make us some bubbles, right?" So someday maybe, but not yet. It's a common joke now.
Bubbles, bubbles, bubbles. They're coming. They're coming. How about you, Deanna? You haven't been here that long. You've been here a year now, but it gives you a good flavor of what the lay of the land is. What's your favorite part of this valley?
Oh gosh, it's everything about this valley is pretty magical. But honestly, being outside so much more than I was able to in the limited weather at home.
So,
exactly. So riding my bicycle year round is such a joy and gift. And I would tweet back at home or Facebook back at home and say, "Sorry guys, I'm not trying to rub it in, but it is January and I am on my bike ride right now."
And I could technically wear shorts.
So I do love cycling, and I love the joie de vivre, just the way that people live around here. It's just amazing, the enjoyment of food and wine and the outdoors.
We do that a lot.
Yeah, it really is incredible.
I would say that's probably my favorite part of living here in wine country is just the connection with friends and family and food and wine, and everyone's like, "Wow, you do a lot of parties." It's like we don't really necessarily think of them as doing a party. It's more of like, "Hey, what are you doing? Why don't you come
together."
over?" Exactly, they're just get-togethers, and this is like, it starts off so innocently, like, "Hey, what are you doing tonight?" "Oh, nothing. What do you got?" I mean, we've literally had potluck barbecues where it's like, seriously, what's in your fridge? Like, we've got some chicken, you've got some steak, and
we were talking at the cheese making class, and you were talking about, you know, when our friend Jessica showed up at your house and you guys made cheese one night because you guys were bored. That just sounded like
and
it was
the
a fun
theme
thing
was
to
fresh
do.
cheese. We said it's not going to get any fresher than this, so we just went to it and made cheese. I mean, who does that? Who makes cheese? I mean, just out of the blue. Apparently we do. That's my favorite part of wine country, is just that the freshness. And of course, we do have access to amazing produce and foods, all
You're
grown
saying
locally.
farmers markets are coming up soon too.
This weekend,
this
Friday.
weekend is
It's
so
kickoff.
Friday for St. Helena and then Saturday for Napa, and I'm so excited about that.
I know. And my garden is growing. So funny thing in my garden right now, I had this I turned this wine box into my lettuce garden, and all was going well. It was gorgeous. I mean, just
It's a perfect thing to do with those wood wine boxes.
It's actually brilliant. You're gonna love it. But yeah, you'll start seeing a lot more wine box mini gardens going on in my garden. But then all of a sudden, one of my lettuces was like gone. I'm like, what? This is very weird. And then, and I thought it was actually me because, long story short, I actually started this off of a stump of romaine. So everyone who saw my Facebook post, I was actually growing romaine off of a stump of romaine, and it was working out beautiful. I had huge leaves. I transplanted it. The very next day, it's right back to a stump. And I'm like, I killed it. But it didn't make sense that I killed it because it wasn't wilted. It was just missing leaves. And then a few days later, another head of lettuce, gone. And my husband's laughing at me because he was at the hot tub and he
was laughing at you. He's not over there like trimming them
no,
off.
no, because I'm like, seriously, it's disappearing. And then he sits out in the hot tub, which happens to be a bird's eye view of the lettuce garden because it's 3 feet off the ground now. And he's like, you lost more. This morning, gone. I have realized it's raccoon. So I have a raccoon little bandit coming in and mowing down my lettuce garden. So
you're gonna have to figure out what to do
yes,
about
I'm gonna
that.
have to figure out what to do about it.
The local wildlife.
Absolutely, it's hanging out. So I'm like, what could possibly be eating it 3 feet off the ground? Like, it's not bugs, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, my money's on a raccoon at this point. But everything is going back to the freshness of the valley. Is we have great places to grow. If you don't have a garden bed, seriously, take a wine box, fill it with dirt. Put water in it and plants. It's fantastic. It's the greatest idea, and it's pretty too. It makes a great patio garden. But I've got, this year I went crazy. I got blueberries, I got strawberries, so I am so looking forward to the end of season. I'm like, can't wait.
We've got our garden going in next week, actually, at Sullivan, too. So we're actually putting in whole edible gardens, and we're going to be working with a couple of different local restaurants. So they will be taking all that extra produce that we don't use at the winery
Using it locally.
and using it in the restaurants. So we're really
That's
excited
really
about that, and
fun.
it should give us kind of a nice new little fun space for visitors to come go through. And I could see, hey, club members, come on over and pick some tomatoes.
That'd be great. Actually, that'd be awesome. I've got I planted padrones. So if you don't know what a padrone pepper is, and I know a lot of East Coasters like, or what the hell is a padrone? You know, they are the most incredible little tiny peppers, and you throw them on the grill, toss them with sea salt and olive oil, and you think that you've gone to heaven. They are phenomenal. They're definitely a delicacy around here. If you see them on the menus, everyone's like, more padrones, more
They're
padrones.
usually pretty mild, but then there's always that like one
That
in the
one.
whole
There's always
box that
one.
just like
Finding
goes
that
nuclear.
one.
Oh my goodness, the thing is, yeah, you'll get the one that, makes you
Oh, yeah.
bring a tear to your eye.
That's one of my favorite finds of moving out here. I had not heard of those peppers prior to
They're
moving here. I couldn't
fantastic. What do we got? We got aroma on the James O'Neill's captivating. Still sniffing my glass, absolutely. And excellent answer on the yoga question. Yeah, that was the
you.
best question.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of love on that one.
That was fantastic. Not to jump the gun, but let's go back to Chardonnay. What can we expect from that? Well, I think we can expect a lot of great things from the Chardonnay release that we were just talking about.
Oh yeah, the Chardonnay is gorgeous. I have to say that the staff pretty much toddled off at the 6-pack each, like the day it was bottled. Everyone was really happy. So
Nice.
Nice honeysuckle, pineapple. This is not one of those big butter bombs. This is one of those nice, clear, nice, clean acidic wines.
Is it oaked or barely?
It's just barely
Just a kiss
oaked,
of oak?
just enough to give that like nice nuance in there. For people who are not huge Chardonnay fans because they don't like the big buttery ones, they love this. So
If you like Sauvignon
my boss
Blanc,
is
you
like a
might-
Sauvignon Blanc or a Champagne gal, and
yeah.
she loves this Chardonnay. What's really cool about it too is it's a Rutherford appellated Chardonnay, which you don't see often.
No.
And so it gives you this different kind of Rutherford dust experience without all the the big red jammy fruits. It's just this nice, clean, clear, kind of very concise version of Rutherford Dust in a different way. We were talking to our friends over at Alpha Omega, and Robin over there was just like, this is the exact expression of the dirt when she tried the last vintage.
Incredible. I can't wait to try it.
And we'll have the oyster girls out too. So we have these beautiful ladies that come out and just shuck oysters, and we're going to do grilled and raw this time.
Okay. Grilled oysters are fantastic.
And so with that, with the Sauv Blanc, it's going to be fantastic. You can't beat hanging out.
We experimented with grilled oysters up in the San Juans last year.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, my world had been changed. I was like, no way would I ever want a
Next summer,
barbecued
I'll
oyster.
send you up with some Sullivan.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's coming up soon. We're only a couple months away now for the next journey up to the Pacific Northwest. And more questions, more feedback. What I enjoy most about the James O'Neill is that it's robust yet not offensive. You're not running to your decanter. Absolutely well said. I think that's a fantastic description of this wine. And
I mean, it'll definitely, it benefit if people wanted to open faster from decanting, but we've been sitting here with it just poured from the bottle and right off. It was just beautiful and approachable.
But I love that. I love that you can kind of sample through it and feel how it's going, how it's opening, how it's developing, and that's half the fun. It has to be fun.
Yeah.
If it's always the same, then then put it back in the fridge. All right, then we have Cellar Mistress saying that these wines will stand up to a rich, meaty meal like short ribs with polenta. Wish I had some. Absolutely.
Yes,
oh my
definitely.
goodness. And yet the wine decanted is still nice, and it didn't fix it, which is cool. So you're still getting the true expression of that wine. I love it. I love these fantastic responses. Yes. Sonyia, are your vineyards experiencing bloom yet? Aromas of bloom are so amazing.
Not quite. It's coming. It's any day. So
Probably by this weekend, maybe with the way
yeah,
the
probably
heat
with
is.
this heat spike, it's going to happen any minute. We really tried to hold off on any pruning to make sure that we push back bud break as much as possible to not hit any freezing.
Yeah.
And so then the second we did the pruning, I mean, those guys, it was like the next day, walked out and there's these beautiful little baby buds, and I was like, okay, start of the 2014 vintage, let's
Here it
go.
is, yep.
And so with this heat spike, I would say it would happen any day.
So what are your projections for this growing season? I know with this heat spike coming on a little early, it's kind of scary. We've seen these before, and then we get those strange summer rains that are not ideal. What do you think?
I think it's still really early to project. I think, every year everyone wants to kind of go, is this going to be a good year or a bad year?
Or how early will
But
it
we
be?
don't know what's going to happen and how big or mild it's going to be. At this point, our vines, they went ahead and they, did bud break at the right time. We're on track for bloom. We're not worried about it yet. I know a lot of people are worried about water. We're lucky to have a really good water table, and so we're not even really worried about, water issues, and, a little stress on the vines isn't a bad thing, especially for big, bold red
usually
wines.
Produces the best wines.
Yes.
So and you want them to be stressed just
enough.
Yeah, you don't want to have a breakdown or anything. They'll have to be doing yoga. It'd be terrible. Yeah, you don't want your vines doing yoga. When you see them doing downward dog, you got a problem.
That's when you got to put the water on and actually give them some water.
Exactly. All right, we're still getting a little bit of feedback. So talking about, again, our love for wine country, and it's big. I mean, we've all come here for a reason, and funny story, we weren't all from here, so we've all kind of transplanted ourselves at some point or another, some of us a little longer and some of us a little newer, but it's all the same. The freshness, I think, getting back to our favorite things, the freshness of the produce here and the food. I mean, everything, literally in Napa Valley, you can get everything right here. There's even local dairies, so you don't really have to go outside of 25 miles to get food if you really put your mind to it, which I think is pretty
You're just going to
phenomenal.
hit the oysters, which is maybe a little further.
And that's still quote unquote local, I think. It's within that 100-mile radius. But being able to put all these things together, I think one thing that I love about wine country is our commitment, and it's kind of that unspoken commitment to being very seasonal in everything we do, and I know it definitely is connected back to the cycle of the vines and everything, and we do shift, like our food and our activities and everything. It's like, yes, we can still be outdoor, but sometimes our outdoor activities change. Like, I know my favorite time to go hiking is the fall. Absolutely love it, and that's when you're gonna find me up in the hills, because it's just, you get these breathtaking mornings with the fog and the colors, and there's just little out there that can really compete with that. And then and then our foods shift dramatically. Like we do have seasons of food where it's like it's
definitely
grape
have.
season or it's grill season because
It's salads. I mean,
Yeah.
that's, today I was at, Dina and DeLuca going, okay, what, fantastic salads do they have? And got, an absolutely beautiful kale salad with some hazelnuts in it. It was just, and some dried cranberries. And it was fantastic. And it was just kind of for a hot day, that was kind of a perfect
absolutely
start for me.
And then, and I think one of the least known things about specifically Napa Valley is our waterfront. That a lot of people don't realize that there's a river that actually goes through Napa Valley. You can get there by boat. So there are actually services that will bring you in from the city, drop you off, take you out on a tour around the valley and send you back to the city all by the boat. It's fantastic. So there's so much going on in our neck of the woods, and Sonoma County is no slouch. Sonoma County, I personally thinks kicks Napa Valley's butt when it comes to geographic diversity.
Yeah.
You have the whole coastal scene.
It's just much more spread out too. I mean, the
my
Napa
God,
Valley, we're just a tiny little space,
and then
where Sonoma is huge.
And every element is completely different, and one is not like the other. So these are all fantastic places to experience and explore. And being CellarPass, we're all about get out and experience for sure. And speaking of experiences, we are getting to our last day, and I do mean the hours are clicking down to get your votes in for the Destination Awards. You can go to CellarPass.com/tickets and click on the banner that says vote for your favorite destination and get your votes in. I mean, we're talking about today has been fantastic watching it. Wineries are just jumping from place to place. Who we thought was going to be the top destinations have shifted like 4 times over today. It's been pretty exciting watching the votes come in. And but definitely we want to know from you what your favorite places are, who has the most romantic setting, who has the best food and wine pairings. Let us know, because the winners are going to get fantastic plaques, and they're going to be in all of our news releases and stuff. So it's really a big deal. We want to know what the consumers' picks are. And of course, wineries feel free to vote for your neighbors and yourselves if that's what you need to do. Don't vote for yourself for every position. No, not good. But definitely get those in. Today is the last day, closes down at midnight, and then we will be announcing the winners on our May 14th show. So it's going to be pretty exciting.
Okay, so we'll be back on May 14th.
Everybody's
I'm
going
hoping
to
for
be
a
here.
hidden gem, because that's what we are.
You are a hidden gem.
That's my little finger crossing is the best little hidden gem.
Absolutely. We are coming down to the end of the show. I didn't know, it's so sad.
Because by fast.
It does. It really does. It's like, boom, we're gone, and here we are. I'm going to look for some last minute pop-ins here. We've got a lot of favorites, a lot of retweeting going on. All right, I think we're kind of wrapping up on the Twitter sphere here, and that's okay. So with that, we will say goodbye and farewell, and thank you so much for joining us today on CellarPass TV. We enjoyed having you here, and check back again with us on May 14th, Wednesday at 4 p.m. at CellarPass.com/TV for our episode with Walt Wines for some extraordinary Pinot Noirs. Can't miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and the crew from Walt is a hoot and a half. So definitely going to have fun with that one. And check our schedule. We are airing most Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Obviously, we're skipping next week, but we'll be back, and we will miss you, and we will love you, and we hope to see you all again very soon. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers. Cheers.
So, yoga.